Despite not being considered a top target in the early rounds of the 2025 NFL Draft, quarterback Will Howard remains a name to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers as the later rounds approach. The Steelers, who continue to explore their options under center amidst the uncertainty surrounding Aaron Rodgers' free agency and potential draft day decisions, have kept their evaluations broad, casting a wide net over both early and mid-round quarterback prospects. And while Will Howard might not generate the same media buzz as some of the elite quarterback names in this year's class, he's quietly emerged as a dark horse candidate with the potential to surprise. Howard's draft projection has varied throughout the pre-draft process. Analysts have pegged him anywhere between the 3rd and 5th rounds, depending on team needs and how the quarterback dominoes fall in the first 2 days of the draft. What makes him particularly intriguing to Pittsburgh, however, is the possibility of pairing a developmental prospect with a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, if the Steelers are indeed able to land the future Hall of Famer. Rodgers' decision is still looming large over Pittsburgh's offseason strategy. If he chooses to sign with the Steelers before the draft, the team's approach shifts dramatically. They can take the long view, investing in a young quarterback who doesn't need to start immediately but can grow and learn under Rodgers' mentorship. In that scenario, Will Howard becomes a highly viable option. He would not be expected to take the reins on day one, which suits his developmental timeline and allows the Steelers to plan for both the present and the future simultaneously. Interestingly, Will Howard himself seems to be embracing the underdog narrative. In a recent appearance on ESPN's Hey Rookie, a series that highlights NFL draft prospects and provides behind-the-scenes looks into their preparation and mindset, Howard made his intentions clear, and didn't hold back when asked how he views being passed over in the early rounds. "I'm going to make it my mission to make sure they regret not picking me," Howard said with a confident tone and unshakable demeanor. "I know what I bring to the table. I've battled, I've won, I've led in 2 different systems, and I've only scratched the surface of what I can become." Those are the words of a player not content to be an afterthought. They are the words of a quarterback who believes in his growth, his resume, and his ability to prove doubters wrong. According to Penn Live's Nick Farabaugh, the Steelers have indeed expressed interest in Howard. They reportedly held a formal meeting with him during the NFL Draft Combine, where they conducted in-depth interviews and position-specific drills. Sources close to the situation indicate that the team sees potential in Howard's size, poise, and leadership qualities, traits they have long valued in quarterbacks, dating back to the days of Ben Roethlisberger. At 6'5" and 240 pounds, Howard certainly looks the part. He's not just tall, he's thickly built and shows good athleticism in the pocket. His arm strength is above average, capable of making throws to every level of the field, and he has improved his mechanics over the past 2 seasons. But what stands out most is his resilience and adaptability. Howard began his college career at Kansas State, where his first couple of seasons were, by most standards, uneven. He was thrust into action as a freshman due to injury and struggled with consistency and decision-making. But unlike many young quarterbacks who transfer at the first sign of adversity, Howard stayed the course. He fought for playing time, learned from his mistakes, and eventually broke through in his 4th year with the Wildcats. That season, he led the team to an 8-4 record, showcased better accuracy, and started to demonstrate command of the offense. After proving himself at Kansas State, Howard made the bold decision to transfer to Ohio State for his final season. It was a move that surprised some, given that the Buckeyes had other quarterback options and Howard would face high expectations. But the transfer proved to be a career-defining decision. In 16 games with Ohio State, Howard passed for 4,010 yards, 32 touchdowns, and just 8 interceptions, displaying both efficiency and confidence. Most impressively, he helped lead the Buckeyes to a national championship, the first of the newly formatted 12-team college football playoff era. That playoff run showcased the best of Will Howard. He demonstrated leadership under pressure, stood tall in the pocket against elite defenses, and executed at a high level in a complex offensive system. Against teams like Georgia and Texas, he remained composed and managed the game with precision, rarely taking unnecessary risks and consistently converting in the red zone. It was a stark contrast to the freshman who once looked overwhelmed at Kansas State. And yet, despite this success, Howard remains ranked as just the sixth best quarterback prospect in the upcoming draft, according to ESPN's Big Board. He sits behind names like Tyler Shaw, Jalen Milroe, and Jackson Dart, all of whom have received more media attention but come with their own sets of question marks. In many ways, Howard has become the classic case of a player whose college accomplishments don't fully reflect in his draft stock, perhaps due to stylistic preferences of teams or concerns about long-term upside. Still, for a team like the Steelers, that could be a blessing in disguise. Pittsburgh is not known for chasing hype. They look for fit, for toughness, and for long-term value. They've built a reputation on developing players, not just drafting them. If Howard is available in the third or fourth round, he may very well be the perfect candidate for a developmental role behind Rodgers or any other veteran bridge quarterback the team might sign. The Steelers' interest in quarterbacks extends beyond just Howard. Reports have indicated that Pittsburgh has also shown preliminary interest in Jalen Milroe and Tyler Shaw, depending on how the early rounds unfold. However, it's unlikely that all three will still be available by the time the Steelers are ready to pull the trigger. If Milroe and Shaw are off the board, as many predict, and if Rodgers signs just before or during the draft, Howard becomes the most logical target. His profile fits what Pittsburgh needs, a young, coachable quarterback with starting experience and a demonstrated ability to lead. Moreover, Howard's mindset aligns with what head coach Mike Tomlin consistently praises, players who approach the game with a chip on their shoulder. In several post-game interviews and combined discussions, Howard has spoken candidly about the pressure he faced in college, how he battled through adversity, and how he thrives on being underestimated. "I've never had anything handed to me," he said in one interview. "I've had to fight for everything. I've sat, I've started, I've transferred, I've led. I've seen the game from all angles, and I think that's going to help me be a great quarterback at the next level." That level-headed, grounded perspective is something scouts have pointed to as a key intangible. Howard may not be the flashiest quarterback in the class, but he's battle-tested, coachable, and entering the NFL with the humility of someone who knows the work is only just beginning. In Pittsburgh, he would likely spend his rookie season learning the offense, absorbing film, working behind the scenes, and getting acclimated to NFL speed. With Matt Canada no longer running the offense and a new coordinator system in place, the Steelers are looking for fresh minds who can grow into the system. Howard fits that mold. By year 2 or 3, depending on how the roster shakes out, he could be ready to compete for a starting role or become a valuable long-term backup capable of stepping in when needed. In a league where quarterback depth is more important than ever, having a player like Howard in the pipeline is not just smart, it's essential. As the Steelers continue to shape their draft board and prepare for the opening rounds, they'll be weighing their top priorities: veteran help versus long-term planning, immediate impact versus developmental upside. And if Aaron Rodgers does indeed choose Pittsburgh as his final NFL destination, the importance of selecting a quarterback like Howard in the middle rounds becomes even more critical. Because Rodgers isn't a long-term solution. He's a window. A 2-year plan. And behind that window, the Steelers must prepare for what comes next. Whether Howard is that answer remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, he's not backing down. He's not shrinking from the moment. And he's made it very clear that if teams pass on him, they'll hear about it in the years to come. The Steelers would be wise to listen.